It's Monday, May 18th, 2020. The markets went absolutely gangbusters today. Everything up across the board. What I thought was interesting was the Dow Jones and the number that the Dow Jones closed. The Dow Jones closed positive, up 911 points. I thought that was a very interesting number for the Dow Jones to be closing at today. But we know that everything is up across the board because of the continued money printing. The Fed buying trillions of dollars of corporate debt, 0% interest rates. The money printing continues. But there was more good news with a pharmaceutical company called Moderna. They said that phase 1 results were very positive. And so are we now going to be entering the summer where we're back to phase 1s and phase 2s and phase 3s. Last summer, it was phase 1 with China. Now it's going to be phase 1 with pharmaceutical companies. It just seems that these markets are looking for any positive news in order to have these huge surges. But at the same time, I went out this afternoon and had to take care of some business. I was in downtown Palm Springs, and it is a tragedy. And I don't know what things are like in your area, but from what I can tell from the thousands of people that have been commenting down below, things are not much better where you live. But as I was in downtown Palm Springs today, nobody walking around, very few cars down there. The restaurants that were open were takeout only. All the retailers continue to be closed. The resorts are closed. And again, it's just a complete tragedy. And how we come out of this, I have no idea. But, you know, watching the markets skyrocket today, you would think that these were the most incredible economic times in history. They are the worst economic times in our history. We have nearly half of this country not working, unemployment hovering around 40%. The real unemployment numbers are around 40%, yet the stock market is soaring. Unbelievable. It's historic times. Again, half of Americans not working. We have a frozen economy. Massive debts and deficits continue. Manufacturing at all-time lows. The industrial numbers at all-time lows. 5 million homes in forbearance. But Dow Jones up nearly 1,000 points today. Wow. The Fed's balance sheet is now entering $7 trillion. You know, I just looked at some of the numbers comparing 2020 back to the last financial crisis that occurred in 2008. During the Great Recession, the Fed did QE3, quantitative easing. It was expanding the balance sheet by $80 billion a month. We just did $212 billion in 1 week. The highest the balance sheet got during the last crisis was $4.5 trillion. Today, we're at around $6.95 trillion. You might as well just round that off to $7 trillion because that's about where we're going to be tomorrow. So, I mean, it's absolutely unquestionable that we are witnessing the worst economic collapse in U.S. history, the worst U.S. economy in our history, and yet the stock market continues to soar. I read an article today with Peter Schiff. He made a couple really good points. He says we are going to see big increases in consumer prices because of all this money printing, because of all this debt. We're going to have to deal with the consequences of all of this money the Fed is printing right now, and all the money that they printed back in 2008 and 9 during the last financial crisis. We have not even begun to pay for all that money printing yet, and we're about to. Many people are convinced we can print all this money and run massive deficits with no problems because we have gotten away with it for this long. This is a very dangerous assumption, says Peter Schiff. This collapse is sneaking up on a lot of people here because I read people in a lot of the economic forums, and people are still oblivious. They're going to look at the television today. They're going to see that the Dow Jones was up nearly 1,000 points, and they're going to believe everything is okay while they're sitting at home with no job, while they're sitting in a frozen economy, while they're sitting and waiting for a stimulus check to pay their bills. They believe everything is okay because Wall Street is up today, Dow Jones up nearly 1,000 points. They don't get that Wall Street and Main Street are completely disconnected. They don't get that they're not a part of Wall Street. Remember, it's not a crisis until it becomes a crisis. Social Security and pensions are going to get vaporized because of the atrocities that are being taken that are taking place right now. No doubt about it. This money is going to have to be paid back somehow. They're going to continue to rob Social Security. They're going to be robbing your pensions because this money, look, remember, nothing is free. That balance sheet is now approaching $7 trillion. No doubt going to blow past $10 trillion. We're looking at these state and local municipalities going absolutely broke. Cities like Chicago, states like California now running huge deficits. They're going to need bailouts. Corporations need bailouts. Households need bailouts. Cities need bailouts. States, everybody needs money. So what do you think is going to happen here? They are going to continue to print to try to save everything, and by doing so, they are going to implode our currency. We are going to see a Venezuela, Zimbabwe type event right here in America. And I know that there's people out there laughing, but those are the same people that laughed when we talked about negative interest rates coming to America. I wouldn't laugh about that because I'd say within less than a year, somewhere in 2021, we are going to see negative rates right here in America. And we may see them by the end of this year. But I believe at some point in 2021, we are going to see negative interest rates at the latest. We could see them in 2020. But a lot of those people aren't laughing now because this market is up today, not just because the Fed is buying corporate debt, not because the Fed is injecting billions upon billions of dollars into the repo market, not because the Fed has slammed rates to zero, not because of just all that, but they're also going to lower rates to negative. Okay, we are going negative, and these markets know that, they understand that, they are pricing it in. And as the Fed chairman came out and said the other day that he doesn't expect things to get better or to improve in this economy until 2021. So this whole thing is going to be on cruise control, right? These markets know that the Fed is going to print massive amounts of money to limp this whole thing along. The training wheels are not coming off anytime soon. And so these markets know it. They understand 0% interest rates going negative, knowing that the Fed is going to print as much money as they need to continue to kick this can down the road, to limp this thing down the road as long as it can. It's not a crisis until it becomes a crisis. And I promise you, this is going to become a crisis. Take a good look at what's happening in your areas. Take a good look at what's happening in your personal financial households. I just cannot believe people do not see this. People being paid to stay at home. We're bailing out corporations. We're going to be bailing out states. We're buying corporate debt. 0% interest rates. Do you really think? Does anybody out there really believe that this is going to end well? This is really dangerous stuff that is taking place. And there's still people out there ignoring it, laughing at it. But the same people laughing at it are the same people, again, sitting at home, waiting for their stimulus check, waiting for their unemployment check while they sit at home, and more than likely not having a job to return to. But they don't know that yet. But they're going to find out the hard way when their pensions get annihilated, when the stimulus checks and the unemployment run out and they have no other options, when they go through whatever life savings that they have, when they go through the retirements, everything they have, everything they saved up for, when it's vaporized, then they're going to go, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I was reading a few articles this morning while the stock market was going ballistic. I want to share these articles with you and try to make sense of this. we are watching the Dow Jones. It actually surged over a thousand points at one point today, while Uber to cut 3,000 more jobs. This is on CNBC today. If you get a chance, check that out. May 6th, Uber cut 3,700 employees. Today they announced they're going to cut an additional 3,000. So just in the month of May, Uber will have cut 25% of its workforce just in May. And the Dow Jones was surging past 1,000 points earlier today. Wow, Uber continues to cut people. Here's another article. Survey, 30% of Americans have rated retirement savings. Again, this is a real reflection of what's happening in the real economy, not the illusion we call the stock market, not a Ponzi scheme. And remember, all Ponzi schemes end, and they end pretty badly. And this one is going to end very badly. Let me continue with this article. 3 in 10 Americans have dipped into the retirement savings to help cover expenses. I guess they're not making a ton of money in the market. Look, I'm not against anybody being in the market. I'm completely out of these markets. I'm a spectator at this point. On the outside looking in. I have no ambition to be playing these markets right now. If you are, I hope you're making a lot of money, and I hope that you're taking that paper fiat monopoly money, and I hope you're buying real hard assets, because you're going to need them when this whole thing comes tumbling down. The average withdrawal between March 1st and May 1st was $6,757.20. About a third have tapped into another investment account instead of the retirement account. People are making withdrawals to cover expenses, and many are doing this to help with the loss of a job. Again, there are people out there that think that this economy is soaring because the stock market is moving back up. Although 40% unemployment is a horrific economy. We are looking at depressionary type numbers, even worse. Yet there are people who believe everything is okay because the stock market is going up. And they don't understand that the stock market is an illusion. It is a ticking time bomb, and we are all going to pay a severe price, severe consequences because of the propping up of these markets, because of the massive quantitative easing, the money printing, the 0% interest rates, the corporate buybacks, all the manipulation, asset values, you name it. We're going to pay a price for all of this criminality that is taking place just so that a few people can make money in these markets. Here's another article on CNBC today, and it's talking about how it is going to be much harder for millions of Americans to retire. And we have to remember that most Americans do not even have anything in retirement. There's a great percentage of people here in America that have absolutely zero money in retirement. And half of this country has very, very little in retirement. And most of this country doesn't have enough to retire on. And when you take into account inflation, real inflation, which is around 10% a year, if you're just sitting on cash, expecting to retire on $40,000 or $50,000 in your 401k, you are going to get obliterated. The recession is making life even more uncertain and more difficult for people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. Another 3.1 million workers are going to be pushed into poverty in their retirement. Many won't get back into the labor force, or it will take too long to get another job. That means they'll draw down on the retirement savings. They may go into debt. They will more than likely apply for Social Security even earlier. People who are middle-class workers right now will be poor retirees for the rest of their lives. Another article on CNBC, it's trying times for U.S. auto suppliers as plants reopen. The industry needs at least $20 billion. And again, this government is going to print more money to continue more bailouts. And people just believe that this money is just printed out of thin air, that it never has to be paid back, that it's never going to have any effect on purchasing power, that it's never going to have any effect on your life. But every time you go into the grocery store, every time you look at the price of an automobile, the price of rent, the price of healthcare, while you're earning 0% interest on your money at the bank, take a real look at reality, and please tell me that there's no inflation. Public companies face little risk of punishment for taking PPP loans, legal experts say, CNBC today. Again, tons of money printing, big companies cheating. They have the resources, they have the money, they have the legal teams to tap into those resources, while the little guy, like the little people in downtown Palm Springs, the little people in Palm Desert, the little restaurant owners, they don't have the tools, the resources, or the money to tap in like the big boys do. And this is, we just have, I think, no idea how bad this is going to be. Look, I'm happy that we are starting to see parts of the country open up, but they're not really opening up. When Vegas opens up, people wearing masks, buffets closed, restaurants closed, bars closed, fewer tables, fewer seats means fewer people. And all this distancing, all these rules and regulations that's going to go, into areas like Las Vegas. How do the resort towns come back from this? How do they survive? How do the restaurants survive? We're not going to really know how severe all this is until the beginning of fall. That's what I truly believe. That's around the time period I believe we're going to start really seeing the damage that's being done right now. We haven't seen the damage yet. Hedge today, dying economy. And this was a really good article with Rob Kiyosaki. He says this: his fear of a dying economy has led him to purchase 3 assets: gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Says here, Fed is incompetent. Next bailout, trillions in pensions, hope fading. That was a tweet by Rob Kiyosaki. He endorses Bitcoin for one reason: it's not part of the system. He noted gold and silver, God's money. His best advice is this: get out of the system. So I'm going to wrap it up today, but I think Rob Kiyosaki said it best: get out of the system. And look, if you're in the system, if you're in these markets and you're making money, God bless you. But I hope that you take some of that fiat paper monopoly money and buy some gold and some silver and even some Bitcoin to protect yourself. Now, me personally, I'm not a Bitcoin guy. I'm not a crypto guy. I'm very old school. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's why I like cash. That's why I like gold. That's why I like silver, because I can put these assets in different physical locations and have access to them in a time of need, in an emergency. As most of you know, I'll be heading out to Texas shortly, and I will be putting assets, gold, silver, cash, in that location also, just as I have in multiple locations here in California. So having the freedom of that accessibility and being able to spread out the assets gives me a feeling of security, a peace of mind. Whereas with a crypto, if the power goes out, if the internet goes out, if there's a cyber attack, if there's an EMP, if there's a hack, there's a lot of things that can happen where I don't have control. Whereas if I can drive to one of my California locations, or if I can get on a plane or drive to Texas, I have assets there. So just having that peace of mind of having that physical ability to touch those assets gives me personally a very secure feeling. But That's just me. I don't give financial advice. I'm not telling anybody what to do. That's just me. If you believe wholeheartedly in the cryptos, more power to you. I'm not here to judge anybody or tell you what to do. And I'm certainly not against the cryptos. I think they have their place. But I'm very old school. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's why I don't like banks, because when you need your money, you're not going to be able to access it. Just like when you need to access a 401k or a money market, there's these huge penalties, or if things get really bad, they have to shut everything down till everything levels out, everything cools down before they even allow access. That happened back in 2008, where people couldn't access their money because things were so out of control that they just shut everything down for a short period of time. ATMs out here have shut down. I've seen banks out here shut down. So when you're reliant on a financial institution, whether that's a bank or an ATM or your 401k, your money market, or whatever financial institution you're in, you don't have the ability to just walk over somewhere or drive over somewhere and get your money. I do. And I like that feeling because I'm my own central bank. So I don't plan on being locked out of a 401k because I don't have one. I don't have to worry about getting locked out of an ATM or a bank because I'm my own central bank. And that's just me. And that gives me a real good peace of mind. So the farther and more detached you get out of the system, the more you act as your own central bank, the more power you have, the more control you have. And the less power and less control these financial institutions and these banks have over you. Please pray for this country. This economy is decaying, and it's going to affect the lives of millions of people. Many people you know and I know. We're seeing an uptick in suicide, alcoholism, drug use, crime, domestic abuse, divorce, etc. These are going to be very turbulent times in America, and we all have a fiduciary duty, a responsibility to be checking on our friends and our family members. Look, a text message and a phone call goes a long way. So make sure you reach out to your friends and your family members, because you know, we don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know how bad things really are. And so it's just good to check on people, because this is really going to be a hard time for a lot of people here in America. So make sure you check in on your friends and family members. And please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, you don't know, put it all over your social media. And please make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you get the newest video when it comes out. God bless all of you. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of your busy day today to watch this video. God bless every one of you. Talk to you very soon.